Hi, everyone. Just wait a moment. We're waiting to go live on IG as well. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the ride. You're here for another episode, Revive and Thrive. I'm so happy to be here today, and we got a great topic. So, before we get into all of that, we're just going to go over some items. Firstly, we want to thank everyone who's been riding with us for over a year. We do have over 950 subscribers, but we do have a new strategy. So, I want everybody to know that we love that there's people that are subscribing on our private platform, but we want those subscribers to go over to YouTube. So we're actually going live on IG. Our personal pages on IG, Facebook, our personal pages, as well as the Revive and Thrive page on Facebook, and YouTube, the actual Revive and Thrive YouTube channel. So we would want everyone to go over to YouTube. It's a great experience, but at the very least, go over there and hit follow. So for everyone that's on Facebook, the direct link is in the description of this live, as well as those IG folks. Don't worry, we got you. Look above my head. So you can just key in those letters, revive _n_ thrive, and you'll find us there on YouTube. And for those who are listening to us and looking at us on YouTube, go ahead if you haven't done so and hit follow. So we welcome everybody. I do want to let our IG people know, because we love you guys. Unfortunately, the platform we use, we do encourage everyone to interact, but we can't really read our comments within the platform that we use for the IG folks. We do try to go back and forth and toggle, but in an event, if you do want to ask a live question, because you probably would want to utilize this time effectively, we do, and I actually will introduce our guests in a bit. But if you want to make sure that your questions read live, go over on YouTube, or you can find us on Facebook as well. So we can make sure we get those questions as they come in. Or, we'll look at the questions after the broadcast, and then we'll try our best to get back to you if you do have a specific question you want answered. So with that, I'll do introductions. First, I'll introduce myself. Hi, everyone. Your co-host, KG.
Hi, everyone. I'm your co-host, Tamika Elaine.
And today, no, I'm going to get you, girl, because we got to set you up nice. Okay. We got to set you up really nice. So just to let everyone know, we have this amazing topic. Everyone is of a certain age that usually looks at us or look at our shows or view our show, or they all have parents, if we are lucky to have living parents that are of a certain age. So this is a topic that everyone should be in mind with and should be thinking about and thinking of a strategy that works for them. And it's just protecting your legacy. So we're going to have some estate planning insights. And I'm so happy to introduce the great and incredible attorney, April Lash. Someone I personally know. She's actually from New York. She's a Brooklyn girl. So it's all three Brooklyn girls, but she currently resides in Georgia. An acclaimed attorney. I'm going to let her brag on herself. So she is top notch, and we are very happy that she allotted some time for us this afternoon. So before we get into it, girl, I wanted to introduce you, and go ahead and brag on yourself.
Oh,
go ahead, April.
Thank you for that amazing introduction, Kenda. I appreciate both you ladies, Tamika as well, for allowing me to come on this platform and share with you some of my skills and expertise regarding estate planning and the whole point and why it's important and all the other good stuff I want to share with you. And as Kenda stated, I am a practicing attorney in Georgia as well as New York. I am from New York. I went to law school in New York. So New York and Brooklyn is my hometown. And so it's an honor to be on this platform with the ladies today. And I've been practicing estate planning, probate, real estate for a couple of decades. I don't want to give my age away too much. I've been doing it for a minute, and I totally understand the importance of it. So I try to share it as an educational way through platforms like this. I like to share it in my practice every day. And I also do work as an educator with students, and I talk with them about things of this nature. So
That's
this is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. And I feel like when we work so hard every day and we're planning and building on this journey of life, it's just as important to make sure that we plan on how we want things to be handled when we are unable to speak for ourselves. But that's my intro at this time.
It's
Okay.
great to have you. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you today, April. We want to, before we get into the nitty gritty, we want to, do a few icebreakers to set the tone. So, first question: what inspired you to choose estate planning as one of your focuses of your practice?
Um, it's interesting because going into law school, estate planning was not something I probably was even knowledgeable about. It wasn't something that I was thinking about every day. And it definitely wasn't something that I saw on the television or news. We saw more criminal investigation shows and things of that nature. So it wasn't an area that I would say I was exposed to. So I learned about it in my first year of law school when we had to actually take trust in estates for like a year. And I found it so interesting. I found the whole concept, the history behind it, the way we maneuver through it in today's society. And that was actually one of my favorite classes, one of my best classes. I think I scored high in that class because I enjoyed estate planning. I enjoyed trust in estates. So that was my first introduction to the concept of property and how we protect assets. And then as I started going into my career, I was able to get some experience in an internship. I learned about it through practice and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So that I gravitated toward it. So when I put my shingle out and started my practice, I was like, that's one of the areas I'm going to go into. So that's why I chose estate planning. And I realize now it is critical because we are all being disenfranchised because we may not have appropriate estate plans. So now it's more of a passion for me than anything.
Awesome.
A
Okay.
long-winded way of answering it, Tamika, but
No, I love the
I'm
long-winded.
sorry.
I'm always interested in how certain people get that little seed in them and it
Mhm,
really
mhm,
blossomed and it
mhm.
showcased their futures now their current reality. So it happened while in school. So that's very interesting.
Can I
Now,
can I
go
ask one
ahead.
more thing if you don't mind? Can you
Yeah.
put in the chat the link if someone wants to come in through Facebook so we can share that way as well? Because I know I'm being asked and I don't have the
Oh,
permission. Is there a way to share it so we can
to go,
come
to
in and see the live right
Facebook.
now? Yeah, just to see the live.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can
Just
bring
type
up
in the chat. Look at that.
our page.
Yeah.
Yeah, we going off the
Sorry to
cuff
throw you off.
today.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. But you know what? Let me ask you another icebreaker while I try to pull
Go
this
for it.
up.
Go for it. I can multitask.
So, what is something or the most surprising thing that you learn while helping your clients protect their legacy and their assets and things of that nature?
I think one of the most important things that I'm learning, a lot of people are just unaware. They don't know, or they figure I
Mm,
don't have anything worthwhile to protect. So for me, it's a lot of educating and making it where they really understand and it's relatable because a lot of people, there's an intimidation to, oh, estate plan, estate, what is that? Do I even have an estate? What's going on? So I find that the lack of knowledge and probably the fear is something that I see a lot with clients. So we kind of got to demystify the whole area so people can feel comfortable. So that's a little bit the fear factor.
That
awesome. And
makes
I
sense.
did put that link down there for people. I'm
You
so
mean you
terrible.
want
I'm
to
hoping that will be good enough or clickable.
could you put it in the chat with us as well if you don't mind, Kendra, so I can just copy it?
Yeah, sure, sure. I put it in our little private chat. And I apologize to Mika Lane.
Oh, you're fine. um, so, in terms of another icebreaker, now, what's the craziest or funniest estate planning request you've received, April, while in your practice?
Oh wow, the funniest estate planning I received.
Request, yeah, or just something that really just took you aback, like, wow. I can't.
Um, oh wow, let me see. That's the funniest, the funniest, the funniest. Mm, I guess the funniest could be for me if some people ask, can I put over my estate someone who is probably under 18, a minor
Mm,
or someone, as an administrator or a trustee or something of that nature. I'm like, they need to be a legal age if something happens to you. And some of the funniest can be the type of loopholes they want to go through with the trust and different things of that nature. And I'd be like, I know you've probably been watching TikTok and YouTube, but this doesn't work that way. I know I can tell when people go into the YouTube world
Yeah.
and, not knocking it, but they get bits and pieces. So then it's kind of laughter behind me because I have to clarify or explain. It doesn't work that way. So
Right. How it really goes,
those are
right?
some of the funniest questions I would say for me and everything like that.
All right. So, into the heart of it. Now, let's start out by saying if you could share with us the importance of having an estate plan.
Well, to me, having a estate plan is as important as having insurance on your home. You know, it's inevitable that we all are going to move on and transition on, and we won't be around to be able to discuss certain things or how we want things handled. So you need a vehicle that can communicate what are your wishes that you would like for others to know when you can't communicate for yourself. So I think estate planning is critical. The same way you have car insurance, the same way you have home insurance, you need to have a plan for those things that you put so much hard work and grit into while you're here and while you're, on this earth and while you're doing things and while you're creating great memories, you need to have a plan in place because our lifespan is inevitable, on how things may turn out. So we just need an
Okay.
estate plan, definitely.
So, okay, we understand it's important, but what actually makes up an estate plan?
There are a couple of vehicles, and I like to call them vehicles because one we would classify as a power of attorney. Another thing we classify as a trust or will or both. Also, I think our healthcare instructions would be one. Those are some of the items that go into estate planning. There are other savvy things that we can talk about, but a general overview is those things are very important to have in place.
Okay. And then once you come up with an estate plan, what are some of the best practices for communicating your wishes and desires to your loved ones? That's a critical piece that often, I don't know, causes a lot of friction or drama after the person passes on.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand your question quickly, Tamika. Kind of just state that one more time for me so I can make sure.
Yeah. What are some tips for communicating your wishes? So if someone comes to you for an estate plan, you work with them, how do you advise them about communicating what this plan entails to their loved ones, what their desires are?
How do I advise them and communicate it? I first try to make sure that things are in terms that people really understand. I don't want to speak like I'm in the first year of law school to people who didn't go to law school or the legal terms because that's part of that intimidation factor that I discussed earlier. So I try to find ways to give analogies that are relatable in today's time, whether it's discussing it from a perspective of something current on the news, somebody who passed and just something of that nature. But I do that. And again, I try to break down like it's a box I have and the items that gotta go. Well, not I won't do it that way. I'll say in your estate plan, it will include these things. And then I explain to them what is the purpose of the power of attorney. A lot of people have this idea that power of attorney is valid when someone transitions on. That's incorrect,
Gotcha.
totally. So they need to understand it because people will walk around with a power of attorney when someone has transitioned on and say, why won't the bank speak to me? Because the document is invalid. It's no longer legal. It's not something we can work with. So I explained to the purpose of the power of attorney. I then go into why we also need the healthcare directive because most of us don't transition like that. We may be in a hospital. We may be in a coma. We may be in a position out of the country or in a position where we cannot communicate needs or communicate medical needs. So you need a healthcare that speaks for you. You need an agent who can speak for you. You need a power of attorney because you may not be able to call up the mortgage company and say, my mortgage is late. That's where the power of attorney come in. And then I explained to them that the biggie is either a trust or a will, which comes in place when we have transitioned on. Then we say where this person can't speak any longer, what did they want for what they worked for and what they value is something they want to share with their family. So I kind of try to break it down like that, but they can understand that every document is significant and every document plays a purpose and a role, and it covers the gray areas. So that's how I approach that, as well as ask them, what are you thinking? And I definitely try to, look at, get eye contact, energy, because you can tell when a person's like a deer with headlights. I can, at least. And so I'll know you didn't, that didn't connect.
Let me say it another way.
I get it. I get it. Oh yeah. They no, you don't get it. So then I try to just make sure that when they leave or when they stop talking to me, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in person, whatever, that they really feel comfortable so I can get past the fear of them feeling overwhelmed. Because it's an overwhelming process. It's overwhelming. So my goal is to just continue to try to connect through stories, analogies, and help them understand what it looks like for them and how important it is for their family. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you touched upon trust. And I know typically a lot of people may think of a will or trust when thinking of estate planning, but
Mhm.
just to focus a little bit on trust, can you tell us why a trust is so important, some of the key features, and really who should be thinking about having a trust?
Okay. I'm gonna tell you that in a second. Okay. Got it. No, I'm multitasking, right?
I
Okay.
know.
Okay. How it works. Okay. Who should be thinking about a trust? I think everyone. I think everyone. Now, if you don't own assets or things of that nature, like homes, some luxury items people may like, it could be boats, it can be cars, it can be artwork, it can be different things. But if you have a home and you don't want to go through the court process of probate, then you may
Mhm.
want to talk to me about a trust. So a trust is something that if you are an individual that believe in confidentiality, you feel like loved ones may fight over things and you don't want anyone contesting your wishes, and you feel like you want a private transaction where the entire state of Georgia or New York or wherever you live will know your business, then a trust is a nice savvy tool to transition your assets. And some people like that. If you don't own any assets and you still want to do it, that's your option. I won't discourage you. I mean, you can do it if you like, but a lot of people who own certain assets want that. But one of the biggest things I would say with a trust that I really like to emphasize to family is, especially when you have younger children. You can create a will, which is perfectly fine. However, a will does not have the mechanisms or the tools to be able to manage your estate when you're gone. A trust, I can say, when my child was that irresponsible child, that even when they're 30, they're not doing the right thing, I don't want to give, and I'm going to call her name out, I don't want to give Nia uh, um, everything up front. So I need to give Nia stuff at a pacing because I know she could be, and I don't want to say she is because she'll chew me out for this, irresponsible. She could be irresponsible. She could meet the guy that can make her spend more money than she needs to.
Mm,
Or she can have, she can just do things that I may consider reckless. And I work too hard for you to be reckless with my money. So
say
I
it.
tell people with younger children, trusts are important because you can say at 18, they get this for college. If they complete that trade
Mm,
school or that program, then they get another 20%. Then when they're 28, you can have this. So a trust is very savvy where you can put goals and objectives that are legally correct and policies that are not that policies that are legal policies where you can put conditions in place. Like I had a client that said, I want to create a trust. I'm going to create it, but they can only get this when they finish college. Then they have to get a master's. Then they have to get a doctor. Those are your wishes. It's your money. If those are your guidelines, those are your guidelines. I have some people to say, well, if they're doing this at this age and they're responsible. So it can be done that way. Then you may have a child who may be classified as unique type of learning. They have a unique type of learning where they may be on a spectrum for something, and you may want to say, I want their money managed by the trust manager. So they get an allotment per month. So you can't give them money straight out. You
okay.
may have a situation. So a trust is quite savvy with the privacy, with the fact of it cuts down on siblings who may not get along, because the reality is that we all get along because we have the same parents or we're raised in the same home, but a lot of us don't like each other. So if we don't like each other, we're going to fight through things. That's
Yeah.
just human nature. And most siblings, they fight. I
Yeah.
mean, I have 10 families, 8 and 9 of them fight, and they can be 50 or 60 and they're still fighting.
Yeah.
So the reality is that with the trust, you can limit that conflict by if you act this way, then this can be handled. So a trust can do that. A will can too, but a trust can do it really good because generally in a trust, you can't contest as much. I'm not going to
Right.
say completely, but there it's a little bit more challenging. And then again, like I was stating, I think just I said the management piece, confidentiality piece, the lack of contest, those things I think are really important for trust.
Yeah.
If I probate and you guys can cut me off when you want because I can go on forever.
Oh no.
When I probate, I tell my clients, I was on the phone with a client yesterday. She almost screamed. I said, I'm gonna be with you for a year. We're like in a relationship. I'm dancing with you for a year. I'm not talking to you every day. I'm not a strange relationship. However, I'm talking to you when I need to. And the minimum is gonna be 4 months with me, but a year. I got clients for 2 or 3 years. So when you go through probate,
Mm,
it's a process. Probate is not overnight. I got
mm,
things that I filed a year ago, and I'm still trying to get things through.
Mm.
So understand that probate, a trust is not that way.
Right.
Probably in the 60 days, I can liquidate, get your assets where they need to be, and I can. It's what we call funding the trust and get everything done. Correct? Not funding the trust, misuse of word. Not funding the trust, but I can help you to get everything done, and I can't think of the word right now, but I can get everything carried out in the wishes of the trust usually in 30 or 60 days.
So a couple things. So you touched on, the fact of like with certain instruments, particularly wills, it's easier to contest, right? So
Uh,
are there things that you do or you work with your clients to kind of like mitigate those risks, right? Like by, communicating with their families about their plans, so everyone is aware, like are there
okay.
certain approaches that you take to help, so on the back end, the family doesn't end up fighting? Well, hopefully not.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Yes, there are a couple of things that I really, really like to do with stuff like that. Yes, just I'm gonna tell you in a second. Give me one moment. One moment, one moment. Make sure. Okay. Some of the things I like to do is when I create with my clients a trust or estate plan, I like to look at my I like to look at them as a family. Okay. So with that as a family, I tell them I'm your family attorney. And in being your family attorney, I don't want to just see you right now. I want to see you maybe next year. I want to see you in 14 months. I want to do a Zoom call. You, grandma, whoever else is involved in this process, so we can discuss what does this look like when the trustee who may be your mother who set up the state is no longer around, no longer available, and we have that conversation. So I like to call, and one of my good friends, she does that now. I like to have a family meeting because then it kind of clears that gray murky area and bring in the younger children so they understand how does this work, what does it look like. Not only are we being transparent, but you're also educating them, and then you minimize the conflict at the end when grandma may not be around or somebody may not be around, and A and B who never got along through their life are going to fight and quarrel over nonsense. So you kind of like try to ease that by saying you talk to your family, but also let me as a family attorney speak to you guys in a group. And usually that's Zoom or something of that nature, and have the hard conversations. But Tamika, more important is when you're in my office and you're telling me your wishes, have you communicated that to the ones that you
Right.
love? Are they going to be blindsided by this trust? Are they going to be blindsided by the will? And then the biggest thing is I try to encourage people, let Joey know that he's not getting anything. I mean,
mhm,
kind of like lay it out, but that's unrealistic for a lot because mommy don't want to disappoint so and so, or and I say mommy because sometimes those are the ones that don't want to tell everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about my own mother. I don't know. She's probably watching it. I'm saying anyway, but you know how it is. We want to
Oh yes.
smooth it out. We want to smooth it out. I'm fortunate I have one child. I don't have to have them conversations. So when you got one kid, you're lucky. You don't have to have all that. But when you got several children and one is responsible, one may not, or whatever. I encourage parents to try to have that dialogue so they can avoid the disruption that takes place at the end, or they can avoid the will contest or trying to throw the trust out at the end, and then having conversations with the attorney regularly, not regularly, because I don't need to see you every month, but once a year, once every 14 months, just have a conversation with everyone. So
Yeah.
those are just some things, and I'm open to suggestions too. But that's those are some of my best practices I try to use.
No, I think that's awesome. We do have a question in the chat from Tamika.
Okay.
She's asking, do you have, and this is something I thought about too, so I'm glad she asked, do you have any suggestions for getting a reluctant person who needs a POA, a will, a proxy to set up these documents? Because there's a lot of our parents who don't even really want to have the conversations, right? They don't want to talk about these things. And it's like you as the child, you want to get them to turn their attention to this because you're scared things can happen, right? And then you're kind of left trying to fix things on the back end. So
Mhm.
any suggestions for getting folks to open their mind to
Open
getting,
up and
yeah,
become comfortable. Again, it goes back
yeah,
to the client that walks in the door. And my first goal is to minimize the fear, demystify the process. Because if you're from a prior generation, they didn't deal with a lot like this. Put money under the bed. I'm not doing all that stuff. They figured out when I'm gone. And I get it. I get it. A lot are like that. So this is the newer generation is more kind of like, I'm open to it. What's going on? How do I create a dynasty trust? How do I create a pet trust? Our grandparents would be like, a pet trust? What? So my thing is, when you're dealing with somebody who has a different understanding on how to handle things, you want to kind of educate them in a sense of, hey, mom and dad, think about us when you're gone. Why would we want to be in court for a year to get your house right? And do you realize on your house, I can't call that mortgage company and say, hey, how much do I owe? It's been late. When is it due? Mortgage companies are going to shut you down as soon as they know someone's passed away. So they have to understand that in order for you to have the tools and access to manage anything for them when they're gone, or on that bank account they forgot to put another name on, then they have to put something in place. Unless they just want their children to be tortured and go through probate for a year, because they got to have then not only a judge appoint them, but they have a stranger then telling their children how to do things. So, mom and dad, you worked all your life. You worked for this company for 30 years. Do you not love me enough to put something in place to make the transition smoother so I can handle this, so I can make sure my niece gets this, my nephew gets that? You wanted me to give so and so this. I don't have that access if you're not here and you didn't fill out the proper paperwork. I have to deal with people who don't know us, who don't care about us, and I have to get things in place. And that takes money and that takes time. So don't you love me enough to put something in place? And the biggest analogy, and then I'm always open, like, let me talk to your parents. Because generally I can speak to parents and speak to people where they'll get it and they can talk to me and I'll explain it. But the biggest thing is this, and I tell a lot of savvy clients this, are people who are reluctant, or they just think, oh, lawyers want to make money. Of course we want to make money, but the reality is this. Why would you buy a house? And in today's time, most houses are going for over 200,000. Most people, whether they're whatever income bracket they're in, they could be paying 200,000 if they lucked up 100,000, but most people might be paying half a million for a house, 500 above. Why would you, logically thinking, invest $500,000, 300,000, 100,000, or a million into a home and not have the proper paperwork in place to make sure that that home is transitioned correctly without a stranger telling you what to do at your property? I just need you to
yeah,
logically think about that. And I throw that out to people who are savvy. That's like buying a car, whether it's 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, and you don't have no insurance. If you think that's logical, then that's probably a different conversation I should have with
right.
you. But that's illogical behavior. So I kind of put that on the table. You protect what you work for. We all protect these silly phones. You got insurance on your phone. I know you paid Apple $300, $300 a year, and you got to pay that deductible for this phone. I mean, I can pick up things that we put insurance on. So therefore you should prepare and put that same love into your assets when you're gone, with who in your family you feel will do the right thing by what you blood, sweat, and tears put into while you were living. So kind of that's my question to her. It's very long-winded, but kind of like, I'm not saying play into the empathy, but I'm saying logically speak to them. When you love someone too, you try to make things as smooth as possible for them when you're not around. And if
Mm.
that doesn't work, find a good attorney and have a conversation with the attorney, and then say, mom, dad, hey, I would like to just have a family conversation with a lawyer. Are you open to speaking to them? So at least you can have that conversation so you can understand what this looks like. So those are the two things I would do.
That's,
Awesome.
Mika, let me know if I answered your question in the chat. I can't see the chat, but tell her to type if that was clear. If not, we can definitely, I can try to expound on it if you need me.
I think it was. Yeah, she said this is helpful and puts into perspective. Thank you. And I mean, along the lines of what you said, I mean, some people have a misconception that a trust is only for certain income levels, like wealthy people.
Mhm.
But what you share there is for everyone, right? Like we could all benefit if you have an asset like a home or something that's a
Yeah.
significant value.
Mhm. Most definitely, because as we stated, you may have younger ones. You may have someone who is unique in their learning, and you just can't give all the money out at that time.
That's
Other
true.
desires for why we start. You may be a person, I hate going into probate. So those are other reasons why. But I would say that most of the time we see trust with people who have the home or homes. Sometimes it could be the boats, the cars, and whatever assets. You can have insurance policies. If I have a policy that may be worth $1 million, you don't want to give a 22-year-old a million immediately. So you don't want to put them as beneficiary on that form that fast. Funnel your money into the trust, and then the trust can say, okay, they get 100,000 at this time, pay their college this time. So you may have insurance policies, and you're throwing your kids on as beneficiaries. The kids are just not ready in their 20s. Some kids are not ready in their 30s.
Hmm.
Kids not ready in their 40s. I mean, so the reality is that, and I want to speak to that too. Let me make a note of that about children. Take me back, remind me about this with the children behavior. But so the reality is that for trust, it can be about what we owe, but it also should be about my family structure and how I want to transition things onto them. So don't just get blindsided by, oh, I don't make that much. Oh, I never bought a house. Don't let that
Okay.
limit you. Have the conversation. And I want to kind of say, and this may deviate a little bit, when you do create a trust, even a will, we have to be very honest about who manages affairs correctly now, and decide, I would like to have them manage my affairs. Not a
Mm.
hard thing, it's not a feeling thing. It's a 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 equals 7. So we need to be honest about who is going to make sure my wishes are carried out. Not because I love Buki, not because I love Tamika or Kenda. Who is going to do the right thing while I'm living and I know who they are? So, not saying you can't leave them anything, because you can leave everybody something. But when it comes to the management component with to be
Mm.
communicated, who's going to do the right thing. And I think everybody needs to keep that in mind, whether it's a will or trust when they're setting it up.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of this would fall under, I guess, protecting your assets, right? Like when we hear that term,
Mm.
are there other, for everyday people, are there other ways of asset protection that you would share or just highlight for folks?
I think other people protect assets when they're going by sometimes putting names on things like bank accounts. You got the PODs, payable on death, where you can make sure there's certain money set aside so people can also pay your mortgage and bills, because if they go through probate, that takes time. Somebody has to pay the mortgage, somebody has to pay the car note. Otherwise the car guy found out that someone passed away, repo can come around, especially if they're not getting paid. So you sometimes want to protect your assets by making sure is the appropriate funds are in place, so whoever you're allotted, they have something to be able to handle it, unless that person has cash already and they'll be able to do it to carry the estate due before you can access the funds. So that's an asset protection. Um, Doing the three things I just spoke about earlier.
Mhm.
I still like to say sometimes people may have certain items and they may put more than one name on it. I don't encourage that with the home. So I'm not saying that for your houses. That's a
Yeah.
dangerous thing to do. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. But there are certain other assets which may be, um, what could I think of that someone owns? The bank account is the easiest one because I have so many people call me. Someone called me yesterday. They forgot to put me on a bank account, and the bank froze the account. So all of those are asset protections where you want to make sure things are lined up, and you have to be checking your life every year about, because we all buy new things throughout the year. It could be your jewelry. Did you
Mm.
update that addendum on, I want my pearl necklace to go to my cousin or my niece? Because even though we have kids, we have beautiful nieces and nephews who are better than our children. And we may want to move to them. Now, I have a lot of individuals who sometimes we want to leave them because they did right. So we
Mhm.
want to make
Mm.
sure that maybe we can put their name on something early. A great asset protection I like to share that I saw lately, I did two of them and I was quite impressed. And I think I mentioned it the other day, you ladies, was I had two closings this year, and I
Oh.
watched grandparents transition their house to a grandchild that they felt was working so hard, doing the right thing. And they
Mm.
said, I'm close. I'm up to 90. I have limited time. Instead of waiting in my will, my grandchild can purchase it right now for probably 50% of what it's worth. So the grandchild purchased a house for 100,000, house worth 300. Grandma just gave her legacy to her, said, and I live here for the rest of my life. The grandchild already been taken care of. She trusts her to the
Mhm.
will. And she said, I'm not going to wait for the will of trust. I got that already, but I'm going to transition this now to a closing. I've done
Mm,
it. I thought that was quite savvy. I don't
yeah,
encourage putting on the deed, but that type of situation, when people are up in age and they
yeah.
just do that and they give that grandchild a chance to start out, I have to honestly say I like that. So that's an asset protection too. I would not start putting in my little book.
Oh, I love that. I love that story. I love that
I
example.
loved it. I love it. Wow, great idea.
Now we try. You talk about being savvy. So when trying to do the things, the right things, I'm sure people encounter so many mistakes in doing it. So what are some common mistakes that you see people do in terms of asset protection? And what? Well, I'll let you finish answer that first. So what are some
I'm
common
going
mistakes?
to answer that. And the first common mistake is that they try to be an attorney and do it themselves. So I'm going to say, let me just plug that in. I believe the same way you wouldn't cut into your body and take your own liver out, you shouldn't probably do those. You probably want to let people who went to law school and who study this for a living and sleep and breathe this stuff, allow them to do it, especially if you have something worthwhile to protect. Don't try to figure it out or do it yourself. That's the first thing. Now, the common mistakes are when people do it themselves. Let me
Mm,
save on the front end, but in the back end, they end up paying anyways. And I've seen deeds going wrong. I see that all
yeah.
the time. And it becomes a mess that has to be unraveled. I see art and I also see wills going wrong where
Mm,
people don't do things certain ways. And the judge has the power when you go through probate to throw it out. It's not accurate. We can't validate it, or witnesses are not around any longer, or you didn't do it correctly because you felt you can do it on your own. I only have this and that goes wrong. You still, again, you lose it. You lose it. You save on the front end, you put it out on the back end, no matter what is coming out. So, common mistakes are trying to do things yourself and you've probably never done it before. Common things are not listening to your attorney and thinking I'm going to do it my way. Common mistakes can be just I think just trying to plan without having a professional team behind you, even with your taxes. Even me. I have a tax account, I have a CPA, I have a bookkeeper. I can't do it, and I've tried, and I pay on Iris Knox. And so, I just feel like you make the investment into yourself so you can avoid the mistakes. Not to say to be perfect, but your mistakes are minimized. And
yeah.
that's the goal because we'll never be perfect, but we can minimize risk by, you know, going out there and doing what you can do, what you're strong at, and letting other people do what they're strong at too. So
Awesome.
hopefully I answered that, Kendra.
No, you did. We do have a question again from Tamika. Do you recommend putting multiple people on a bank account? And I know you touched upon this already,
No,
April.
I would not. I wouldn't do it. No. Too
Mm,
many personalities, too many conflicts. People are nice when we know them, but people get married.
mm,
Do I need to go down that rabbit hole? Got other people in their ear. So now they're on a bank account for $50,000 with their other siblings. They got along. But if the other party's in their ear, well, wait a minute. Maybe we should do it a little differently. That kind of influence can come as outside influences.
yeah,
I would not put three people on a bank account. It's too many personalities that can
mm,
go wrong. And Tamika, I'm gonna give you an example, not a bank account, but a deed, because I like to give stories. I had a client who put five people on her deed, all her beautiful, loved, beloved children.
mm,
Client now reaches a certain age, no longer wants a two-story house. Client wants to move to the beautiful Sun Belt state of Florida, ranch style home. But the deed has all her beautiful children on it.
mm.
Child's in agreement. Get to the fifth child. The fifth child in the ear, someone else who has nothing to do with the estate. They're not biologically connected. They might only be in a relationship for a year. That last individual, which I will never, this is why I'm against deeds to this day, said, in order for me to get off that deed that belongs to my mother who paid for this house, I need $50,000.
Oh,
I almost choked. So I don't encourage putting a whole bunch of people on anything. So that's my answer to that question with that. No. Too many personalities, too much conflict of interest, and everybody's dating someone else, and they're always in other people's ear. And so they don't have the autonomy to sometimes make independent decisions, especially when emotions are involved. So you got to minimize everything
Mm,
when you want your wishes carried out. So your wishes are carried out correctly without any influence, especially by people who don't have your best interest for you and your family. So that's just my take.
woo, this is,
I
oh man.
didn't ruffle any feathers, but I'm just
No, no, this is good. We love the real.
and when I speak, it's nothing personal, but I see these stories all the time and I deal with it. And I've been doing this for over a decade. So I like to speak, but I like to give real experience so everyone understands. Life is just not cookie cutter like that. So, no, do not put them 4 people on your bank account. Even if they're kids who are related to you, just let's find another way that you can do that. I like a trust. If you have other assets, Tamika, and especially if I don't know if I'm assuming they're minor children, I'm assuming you may want to make sure they're all on the bank account to get the money directly. Um, let's discuss another way that you can still accomplish that goal, but not in a way where it could jeopardize what you really want the goal to be at the end. Okay.
Okay. And we get all these great tidbits. I didn't address this at the beginning,
Mhm.
but you see that disclaimer going. Don't act like you don't see the disclaimer,
Let me
everybody.
do
From left
this
to
is
right.
only for
This
educational purposes only. I am not giving legal advice. Not been retained by me. So only for educational purposes, but I would love to speak with anyone one
yeah.
on one if they would like to speak with me. And again, I'm admitted in New York as well as Georgia.
Yes, yes. And we'll be able to, at the end, I'm going to ask April to key in her information. You can follow her on IG. Her IG tag is her name. So find her. Again, she is able to practice in both New York and Georgia. But we're not finished yet. I just wanted to, because we're giving some really good advice, but I just wanted to make sure that nobody, everybody
Thank you.
understands.
I appreciate you. Thank you for looking out. Thank
So
you.
we think a lot of people think a lot about wealthy families when it comes to estate planning, trust, and the whole thing. But I'm glad that you just kind of disbarred that whole notion as only wealthy people should be thinking about this. But, a lot of people do aspire to be wealthy themselves,
Mhm.
one day. So if you can give us any like insights or tidbits on how wealthy people actually structure their finances so they don't have to worry about losing it all. Is there anything that they do that can be helpful to us to know?
I would say just as far as being a professional, I would plug. I know they got a good CPA and bookkeeper,
Oh,
definitely because the tax part, a lot of people benefit from great tax incentives
Yeah.
for
yeah,
wealthiness.
yeah,
Wealthiness. So to keep wealth or to make sure that wealth is protected. And then, of course, that professional, I think you should have, if you think about your team in the pyramid, you have your CPA, your bookkeeper, you run in businesses and stuff. You need to build your team. And of course, on your team, you have a good attorney. And an attorney may not cover everything, but you can have an attorney that deals with business law or how do I keep if you open a business, how do I maintain my wealth? Create an LLC so you are not personally liable for things. Okay.
yeah,
Those are asset protection things. You don't want to have a business and you're working in your individual name or certain vehicles or certain things, and one hiccup can wipe you out. So you got to protect your wealth if you're a business owner. If you're not a business owner, you protect your wealth also by making sure you put the estate planning in place for when you transition so that wealth can be saved a certain way and handed down to your family. So I think the financial part is important. I think that having people in your corner who know things, who are knowledgeable, are important for wealth, like networking around certain people, networking around certain areas, so you know how to grow, and then knowing how to protect that once you actually get it. And I'm assuming this is for a lot of people, especially with wealth. Most of them have some type of business or something going on or something on the side. But if not, I would definitely say do things in appropriate agreements so you're protecting yourself, have things in writing correctly. So there are a couple of different things, but I would say if you spoke with me about your situation, I'll be glad to give you a nice analysis on things you should be doing to
yeah.
keep yourself in place. Or if you own a lot of real estate property, then those properties should not be in your name, and how should we set them up so that they are protected because of somebody slip and fall. People there, we have to realize in the world, those of us who are planning and we work very hard and we're preparing for things, and then there are people looking for those of us who are planning and preparing so they maybe can make a living off a hiccup with us. So you have to, if you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
not planning to be successful or wealthy because I want to work for it. But how can I find someone wealthy and successful and maybe see where they have a hole in their whole system? So you have to really plan and protect against that mindset going on every day.
Mm,
Okay.
love
Yeah,
it.
and just so people, because we were talking about wealth and people who have significant investments, but this also applies to those who may not necessarily be wealthy, right? So just wanting to hit that home, are there steps that they can take as well, just to make sure that their legacy is protected?
Most definitely. And to make sure that I want to make sure everybody's included in this, even if
Yeah.
you have your insurances in place too for things, your home insurance in place. Like I heard when the fires were happening in California, some people didn't have insurance or they couldn't afford insurance. That's
Yeah.
another way to protect wealth. So then they get lowballed on what they get back, or they didn't have enough insurance. So now they got to build a house, but they can't stay in that type of area again. So we got to have, there's a team in our life as we walk this beautiful journey of life, from the accountants, the real estate agents, to the people who want to keep our health and wellness good, like you ladies with things to make us feel good. No, so we can think and we can show up every day and feel
Yeah.
Yeah.
good about ourselves. So there's a component to how we build not just financial protection, mental protection, spiritual protection, all of that, your team, who you're around, what you think. Because if you don't have the mental and the health and stuff right, all this other stuff is just like shambles everywhere. So no, we have to do inventory on our life and make sure our team, who we have around, is supportive with us and building us. Okay, that's the most protection I would say to keep wealth and everything.
Awesome. This has been phenomenal. I'm loving all the tidbits and all the diamonds you sharing for everyone. I'm learning as well. Now we're gonna move into another segment where it's going to be a little rapid fire. So
No,
we're gonna ask you a question. All right, and we got to get the most, whatever the first thing that pops up to you in
oh,
your head. Okay,
you
you
always
ready,
thinking as
girl?
attorneys. I'm gonna try to give you my first thought. I said, we like to fine tune things, but go ahead. Let's see.
All right. So the first one is, what's your favorite legal drama or TV series?
My favorite legal drama or TV series. Um, I think it was one I saw on Prime. I don't know if it's called Gladiator, with the gentleman who used to be married to Angelina Jolie. Is that, I'm saying her name right?
Oh,
What's his name?
Tom Brady, not Brady. I'm
Not
sorry,
Brady, not Pitt. No, go back. Before,
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yeah.
before,
I
before.
was like,
No. What's his name? Before Brad Pitt. Before Brad Pitt. Well, anyway, he has a movie on Prime. I think is, I don't know if it's called, not Gladiator. It's called something, but it's about an attorney. He lives out of a hotel and he goes up against the biggest corporations fighting against injustices. I'm thinking, if y'all can remember who Brad Pitt husband was, the first, oh my goodness.
I think I know what you're talking. I
You
feel
know
like
what I'm
it's
talking
on
about? What is his
Netflix,
name?
Oh,
but
that old dude,
okay.
right?
You know?
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. No, the guy for her first husband. What is
Yeah,
his
he
name?
was kind of old, but not as handsome.
Billy,
Like
Bob.
Billy Board, Billy Wood, Billy Wharton,
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy.
Something like that. Anyway, he is an attorney, and I could binge watch for days on that movie, but he always stood for the underdog. Whether it was a town and corporations funneled in water that was damaging, and the people who are considered the everyday working people were drinking this water, and children end up having all kind of problems. He would go
Oh,
up against corporations. He left the corporate world and became an attorney for the underdog. And it would be different topics. It could be people creating something that will go to the moon, but it could destroy the earth. He would fight that kind of company and corporation. So I mean, I enjoyed his persistence, his zeal, is everything about why he was an attorney and why he woke up and he was breathing and drinking coffee around the clock every day and putting the briefs emotions together. That's one of my
Okay,
favorites.
all right. It sounds like he has the same kind of passion you got,
I
girl.
try. But he was somebody I would put on a list of I would look up to as far as being an attorney that I felt like that's the purpose and calling for what a lot of us are doing out here. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the next question is, well, if you weren't practicing law, what career would you be having, or which career would you have right now?
Oh, okay. I think I like that rapid fire question. Let me tell you what I do. What I love doing is cooking. I
Hmm.
think I might be.
Wait, people don't know. I actually know this woman.
Why did you guess for Kendra? Tamika, how dare you? You look like I didn't see this coming.
No, I did that only because I know how KG feels about cooking. So,
Oh, girl, I'm the exact opposite.
I love cooking. My favorite live with you guys was the chef. If you remember,
Oh,
oh,
Chef
I follow her
Couture.
and I use her tidbits today. I love
Okay.
infusing healthy food with tasty food. And my
Okay.
family can tell you, I be sending videos, look at my breakfast with this. And I am actually a little food connoisseur on the side. And I keep all my little videos of everything because I say you never know. But in my other life, I probably would be into something with culinary arts, something of my own passion, maybe a coffee shop where people come and they can vibe and cooking nice,
I can totally
healthy
see that.
breakfast with quality food. Not I believe if you're gonna pay for whether it's $5, whether it's 10, you should have some kale and spinach and not iceberg. I mean, I like to give quality stuff. And so I want to do that. You got your little chia seeds dipped nice.
oh,
Okay.
And one other thing, I would definitely be an entrepreneur. I would
Oh
definitely
yeah,
have
most
a
definitely.
business
Mhm.
or businesses, be an investor or whatever. I do law and I do other things, but I would have went more aggressively probably into entrepreneurship and looking at ways that I could invest in things I'm passionate about, as
Mm,
well as doing the things I want to do. That's what
I
I would
love that.
do.
love
Yes.
it.
What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Mm.
Oh wow, this is the one I got to think and what I give my younger self. Hmm. When you get in, I think maybe I wish, and of course this only comes with experience and maturity. I would tell my younger self to spend more time understanding yourself and your value and your worth, so you don't spend so
Mm.
much time wasting it
Yes.
with people who don't get it,
Mm.
and dispose things more instantly.
Disposed them.
Things most instantly. Kendra has a mess to me, but
I know this
I
is
was,
this
I was,
resonate. This
I
is
was,
resonating with her.
She
I was
preaching
speaking
right
to my young
now.
self about getting therapy early and getting
Mm,
the type of therapy where you can learn who you are as a young adult and
mm,
how to understand and how to enjoy and how to embrace feelings that you have to have being a human, but also understand how it's part of this evolution of life. But then knowing your worth so you don't have people who may not get your worth waste your time and you engage
mm.
them because you don't know your worth. So I probably would want to educate my younger self much more.
Woo.
I could study my books and be a lawyer, but spend time on understanding me as a young woman. I
Mm,
think I
Ooh.
missed that because you're a professional, so we get to not do that journey. And we can speed it
Yes.
up through the work. But at some point, you have to face it. And I think it comes for a lot of professional women later, because then we finally have to sit back and be like, okay, let me understand this part of me. I've been
yeah.
working a lot. I can ignore it. But I would like to have spent more time doing that.
Ooh.
Or at
Yeah.
least at least balancing it with going to school, studying, and doing everything else.
I absolutely love your answer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're such a great one. So we're gonna throw that out.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Tamika, for the question. I appreciate that. Thank you. That was a
Mm.
good question. Good
That
question.
was that was yeah, that was probably one of my favorite parts of this live discussion. No,
I'm
I mean, no, no.
like, where did that? That's something. Yeah,
Mm.
I think we neglect that emotional
Yeah.
part of us when we're so
Yeah.
Yeah.
and grinded and excellence.
Yes.
But when that is not together, you can still make it here, but there's that empty spot that we have to put time into. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So mothers teach our daughters that.
Yes, I always, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, wow, if I had a daughter, I would,
And a son too, because
And yeah.
then
But
other
just
people
something
start
about,
keeping you emotionally because we really don't know what we don't know. And a
yeah,
lot of times that come later in life. So I wish my younger self that,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, one more question. If you could master any skill outside of law, what would it be?
If I can master any skill. Um, Maybe putting something together in a house, putting a bathroom together or something like that. I would love to be able to
Oh,
understand that.
wow. You trying to be
Yes.
handy too?
I know.
I'm just very like even the cooking. I feel like I'm mastering my cooking really good. But I like to watch people be able to build something architecturally.
Yeah.
See the floor plan, but then get in the grit and be able to do it. I would love to learn something, do something like that. Put tile down on the floor and different things of that nature. It gives you a chance to focus on detail, something detailed. Yeah. What
Nice.
about you, ladies? Y'all throwing it out of me. What about
Oh gosh, don't throw it back to us. You
Oh, she
see
did it.
KG's eyes.
Hold on, we got 5
I'm
or 10
like,
minutes. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's be fair about this. What would you tell your younger self, Tamika?
oh,
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and
Ooh,
then Kendra, you're next. I
oh.
just want to know. I mean, I'm very curious.
I know.
Mm. Kendra thinking
I
to me.
just
I got you.
basically that I don't have to have it all figured out, right? Like,
Oh,
trust in the process because I'm someone that's always trying to, how's this gonna go? And you get caught up in wanting to plan and things, but
oh.
there's certain things that I would have hoped I would have accomplished by now that I haven't. But just kind of you don't have to have it all figured out right away. Just trust the process.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I agree. I have to say I would want that one as well. So Miss Kendra, what about yourself?
Okay. Well, a lot of it is aligned with what you said, Soror,
Okay.
April, about really acknowledging my self worth. I really wish I knew my value at my younger self. I really wish that I didn't, share, my time or energy with certain people. I just didn't deserve it. I just wish I just knew just my worth a lot sooner in life. And also, I it kind of aligned with Tamika Lane said about not being okay, not figuring everything out. You know, I always had everything. I guess I'm always thinking ahead, and I always had timelines for everything. Like by
Mm.
this point, I'm gonna be a VP, or this point, this and this and that. And really, nothing really transpired the way I wanted. But I should have been, and I'm okay with that now because it's obviously it's God's timing for how things will be. But I didn't know, I didn't feel that way. And I would be down on myself if I didn't achieve something at a certain time, and
Mm.
so now I understand. Just continue pushing. There's no need to be down. Just rethink things, and just maneuver differently and continue going,
Mm.
and just know how, like, just how much of a good person overall I am, even from 20 something years old or whatever. Even when I was big or whatever else, I still have value.
Most people
So
are.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
some of the things. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing. I appreciate that.
Thank you for
I had this,
challenging us.
I know, girl. I
I
was
didn't
like,
see it coming, right? I got you.
You did. I saw Kendra's eyes like.
I'm like, whoa. Because, it's easy for us, when we
Yes,
have a
it is.
great guest like yourself, April, because you're so knowledgeable. Nobody really wants to hear from us. They want
Yes,
to
we
hear
do.
you.
Yeah,
So
of
it's kind of
course.
like,
When it comes to life
Yes.
experiences, yes, everybody brings something. Everyone has value to bring to the table. So I'm
yeah,
all ears. All ears. Tamika said something, phenomenal. I appreciate that. You're right. You're right. It doesn't have to be figured out. I'm still trying to learn that.
yeah,
We got to jump out, even with whatever we do. So there's learning of the paralysis, or phrase they use for that, where we overlearn things. So
Mm.
I learn, and even every day, I just do it. And you know what I have to do when I do that, Tamika? I have to be okay with the fact that I may have made a big mistake.
Yeah.
Be like, I'll just take
That's
the blow. Give me the blow. At least I stepped out on it.
yeah.
Once you take that blow, you come through better the next time.
Right.
I try
That's the
to,
hard part because I struggle with that too. This fear of making mistakes.
yeah.
And yeah, you just get caught up.
Take the blow. Take
Yeah.
be open to it. It is okay to make the mistake because I guarantee you the second time around, I'll be two steps better.
Right.
You
Mm,
take the blow. That's it. And
yeah.
it comes with it. If you don't get the blow, good. But if it does, it's okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
You
love
didn't lose. It's a lesson.
it.
That's
Lesson. There you go. Never lost. But anyways.
yeah.
Well,
Wait, oh no, go ahead, Tamika. I'm
oh
sorry.
no, I was gonna say I don't know if we wrap it. I mean, there is another question. I don't know if we want to do another question.
Oh, sure, sure. Yes, of course.
Okay. What's the best piece of life advice you ever received?
I ever received. Probably when I was younger. Oh yes. Let me give something from my mom. Yeah, I don't know if she's listening, but this is from my mom. When I was younger, my mom would always say this phrase about, oh, she's going to appreciate this.
And I think she's
Come in
listening
and will
in
correctly.
reference. This is a great
The
discussion.
ambiguous will correct. But no, when I was younger, right, it was my brother and I. My mother would always say this phrase about you could be whatever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do. Parents need to understand those words are very powerful. They resonate. And I remember saying to my mom, I can be whatever I want to be. And then I said, and she remembers the story because I brought it back up to her. Can I be an astronaut to go to the moon? She said, you can be whatever you want to be. And she would piggyback and say, pray about it.
Hmm.
So that to this day, I have always prayed on things and they've worked out like a rhythm.
Hmm.
And my ability to believe that I could be this little black girl who wants to be an attorney in two states or buy this or do that or travel and do that came from I learned that I could be whatever I wanted to be. Want
Right.
whatever I want to be. So
Hmm.
that with me or probably some powerful words. I've got many good phrases in life, but that was one that resonated when I was very young. And I always remembered it. And I also remember my father's mom would write on a card for me, my grandmother. Her name was Miss Wynn. She would say, did she say, I don't know if she gave it to my dad, but she would say, those who struggle on never lose. I think she would tell me that. Those who struggle on never lose, which is good in two folds, but then not that good, where I knew work hard, discipline, never lose. But at the same time, we don't want to work hard. In today's times, we want to be smart and not always work too hard. But I
Yeah.
knew hard work was important very young because my grandma would write that to me. But my mom instilling in me that we could be whatever we wanted. She didn't have limitations. She was fearless a little bit more back then. When they get older, they get their own little ways. But when she was definitely raising my brother and I much younger, she planted in our soul a fearlessness about go for whatever you want. There were no limitations. And plant that seed in your children. I don't care if you have $10 in the bank. I don't care what obstacles. Don't go into how you're going to get there because then you start putting.
Hmm.
When you start going through all the steps, you get scared. Just
Yeah.
so you can be what you want. The plan will come from someone else. They'll figure it out. You don't
Hmm.
just follow the process on believing and taking baby steps. But that's one of the most important lessons that I got. Sorry, Tamika, I'm so long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, that was
Oh,
powerful.
it
Yeah,
was.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I never
I'm
shared
happy.
that with you.
No, I'm happy Tamika Lane did ask that. I know we were
Thank
thinking
you.
about
Thank
wrapping
you. I
up, but I
appreciate
think
that,
that was
Tamika. Excellent question. My mother
yeah.
will probably thank you.
But that was a great segue to just thanking you, Miss
Oh,
April Lash, for your
thank
time
you. Thank
today.
you.
This was phenomenal. I got a lot out of it. It was just wonderful, just understanding the importance of protecting your legacy, estate planning, and also just how deep and thoughtful you are as a human being. So, and it is great. She's an attorney, everyone. So you can always reach out to her directly. And we already have Tamika here saying that she would be reaching out to you and she felt like this show has been helpful. So again, don't be shy. You can reach out to April.
And
Um,
I don't know if I put my website in.
yeah, you can do
You want me
what
to?
is do you want me to do it? Because I know you said you don't.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it in the chat. So and You can
Okay.
take it. I think it's winlashlaw.com, but you can always share it if you want.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna give this number. I'm gonna send it to you in the chat because I
So
can't post on this now.
we hear you type it,
I want
girl.
anyone who's watched the platform to let me know that when they speak to me, how they, because I always ask, but I know you ladies are thanking me, but I want to definitely give you your flowers. And first of all, let's thank you for you ladies have been doing this for a while and you do different
Oh,
topics and you do a phenomenal job. You
Oh,
do a
thank
phenomenal.
you, April.
thank
Every
you.
panel discussion you have, I walk away with wisdom of something. And I know I haven't tuned in as much lately, but when I do, I gain so much from both of you. You're professional, you're classy, you're beautiful ladies. And I love when my melanated sisters are rocking and doing their thing. So support them as well. Get out there and support them on what they're doing. But you
Thank
women are doing a great job. I mean, you gave me a blessing to be able to spend my Saturday in this manner. And
Oh,
I'm
Oh,
I
grateful to you.
appreciate that.
I'm really grateful for your patience and everything with everything you've been doing to get me to be able to be here today and your
I
persistence.
love it. This was wonderful. I mean, a lot of what you said confirmed a lot of what I've already been through, and what I see, family members, just folks that I talk to, going through. So, I'm hoping folks that have tuned in will heed some of the tips that you provided, and just, make their planning, their legacy, just top of the list, right? So they can make sure that it's protected.
Okay.
So thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you. Thank you.
expertise. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kenda. Thank
thank
you.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
Soror. Oh,
Okay.
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I had to throw that
Thank you. I appreciate it.
in. Okay. But everyone, have a wonderful afternoon. Us New Yorkers, we got 70-degree weather. So,
Oh, don't
uh,
please. We
It's
got a lot
close
of
to
pollen
80.
down here.
oh, it's 80?
It's
Oh,
supposed to be close to 80. It's supposed to be high
oh,
70s.
Get
wow.
Yeah.
out and enjoy it. Even if you walk around the corner, please enjoy it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I'm gonna try to get out of this house.
Yes, please do. I mean, please do. Yes, enjoy it. Enjoy. We got a lot of pollen, gray in the clouds, but we'll see. Yesterday was
Oh,
beautiful. Yesterday was gorgeous. So we'll
oh,
see.
okay.
Make the best. Okay.
All
All
Thank
right.
right.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
thanks. I'll talk to you guys. Thanks.
Bye.